Welcome to Photos and Travel, a show that introduces you to fascinating places around the world. Please welcome our host and tour guide, Jonathan Van Bilsen.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Photos and Travel, where we bring the world to your doorstep. When one thinks of Italy, food, wine, wonderful people, and history comes to mind. Today we're going to explore the beautiful cities of Venice and Florence, and make a stop in Verona in search of Romeo and Juliette. Our gondolas are ready, and we'll board them right after these messages.
Planning your next travel destination is always fun, but don't forget to check with Travel Health Associates of Port Perry to learn what precautions are necessary for your destinations. Travel Health Associates of Port Perry is always ready to meet your travel needs.
Venice is one of the most amazing cities to visit. From St. Mark's Square to the Rialto Bridge, it is a bustling city which has maintained its old world charm for centuries. Home to royalty, explorers, merchants, and peasants, Venice has always had a unique draw for visitors. A city of canals, bridges, and restaurants makes it an exciting place to explore. I flew direct to Venice, arriving at Marco Polo Airport, where I met my guide Janis. I was immediately escorted to a water taxi, and after a short ride, arrived at picturesque St. Mark's Square. The square was built in 1100 as the central government area for the Republic of Venice thrived until 1797, when it surrendered to Napoleon. The square is the most visited part of Venice, with up to 20 million tourists a year, nearly half of all the annual visitors to Italy. The city is situated on 117 small islands separated by canals and linked by bridges. It is located in the marshy Venetian lagoon and is renowned for the beauty of its setting, its architecture, its artworks, and of course, its pigeons. A visit to Venice is not complete until you've bonded with the unofficial bird of the city. Venice, along with its lagoon, is listed as a World Heritage Site and is known as the Amsterdam of the South. The bell tower of St. Mark's Cathedral is one of the most recognizable symbols of the city and stands surprisingly separate from the church with the same name. The tower is nearly 100 meters tall and has a simple form, the bulk of which is a fluted brick square shaft 12 meters wide on each side. The belfry, which houses 5 bells, offers stunning views of the city. Construction of the tower began in the 9th century and was completed in 1549. In 1902, the tower collapsed due to a fault, but was quickly rebuilt to its current state. My hotel, the Torre dell'Orologio, or Clock Tower Hotel, was located in the ancient clock building on St. Mark's Square and dates back to the last decade of the 15th century. The rooms are great, but very few hotels in Venice have elevators, so staying on a lower floor is beneficial. Construction of St. Mark's Basilica began in 828 when Venetian merchants stole the supposed relics of St. Mark the Evangelist from Alexandria, Egypt. The church was burnt in a rebellion in 976 and reconstructed into its present form in 1017. The upper levels of the interior are completely covered with bright mosaics. Next to the cathedral is the Doge's Palace, built in the Venetian Gothic style in 1172, one of the main landmarks of the city of Venice. The palace was the residence of the Doge, or magistrate, the supreme authority of the Republic of Venice. A corridor leads over the Bridge of Sighs, built in 1614 to link the Doge's palace to the structure intended to house the new prisons. The famous name of the bridge was supposed to refer to the sighs of prisoners, who, passing from the courtroom to the cell in which they would serve their sentence, took a last look at freedom as they glimpsed the lagoon through the small windows. Of course, no trip to Venice is complete without a traditional gondola ride. The gondola is a flat-bottomed rowing boat well suited to the conditions of the Venetian lagoon. It is propelled by using a single oar. For centuries, gondolas were the chief means of transportation and the most common watercraft within Venice. It is driven by a gondolier, and although the iconic boats still play a part in the public transport of the Grand Canal, their primary role today is to carry tourists on rides at a fixed rate of €80 or $113 for 40 minutes. More than 500 gondolas travel the 50 kilometers of waterways, drifting under 409 bridges and along 177 canals in this city with a population of 270,000. Venice's gondoliers invest about €20,000 for a traditional hand-built wooden gondola with a useful life of about 20 years. They need to earn the bulk of their annual income in a few short months. I continued touring this wonderful city, stopping at the Vivaldi Museum, where I was drawn in by the familiar music and a chance to escape from the otherwise crowded alleys of Venice. This museum was a surprising gem, as it's housed in a beautiful church, has free entry, and very few visitors, despite its delightful, albeit small, exhibition of unique musical instruments. Make sure you turn right after entry to read the information about Antonio Vivaldi's life. The art of mask making for the famed annual Venetian ball or carnival, held every year toward the end of February to commemorate the beginning of Lent, takes place nearby the Vivaldi Museum. You just never know what surprises await you. No trip to Venice is complete without a visit to the Grand Canal, the main waterway of the city. At one end, the canal leads into a lagoon, and the other flows into St. Mark's Basin. In between, it makes a large reverse S shape through the central districts and is lined with more than 170 buildings, most of which date back to the 13th century. These waterways carry the bulk of Venetian transportation, as automobiles are banned throughout much of the city. Siren-equipped boats belonging to police, fire, and emergency medical services traverse the Grand Canal at high speed, and barges are responsible for the delivery of goods throughout the city. If you're thinking of a summer house on the Grand Canal, be prepared to spend in excess of €1.5 million or $2 million for a two-bedroom unit. Shopping at local markets is a way of life for visitors and residents alike. Everything from fruit and vegetables to clothing can be purchased, and freshness is always guaranteed. The islands surrounding Venice produce some of the best artichokes and asparagus in the world. Being a seaside city, Venice markets offer a vast variety of freshly caught fish. The Rialto Market is in the heart of Venice, where vendors sell fresh seafood as well as produce. It's open every day of the week except Sundays, and is the best way to see the city's vibrant social life, especially on Saturday mornings when everyone comes to do their grocery shopping. Pick up some fruit to munch on and have a snack at the nearby bar El Merca. Today, there is still a big movement to make Venice an independent country, typically due to the fact it is responsible for the majority of Italy's income. Most residents, however, would rather spend their time shopping and dining and visiting taverns, such as the world-famous Harry's Bar, declared a national landmark in 2001. From Venice, I continue to Verona, the home of several Shakespearean tragedies. Verona, with its 700,000 inhabitants, is one of the main tourist destinations in northern Italy, owing to its artistic heritage, several annual fairs, shows, and operas, many of which are held in the ancient amphitheater built by the Romans around 30 CE. Back in its day, the theater could seat some 25,000 spectators in 44 tiers of marble seats. Only a fragment of the original outer wall in white and pink limestone remains. The interior is virtually intact and has remained in use even today for public events and open-air opera during warm summer nights. The amphitheater is a favorite venue for Bollywood movie production and has seen international stars such as Whitney Houston, Leonard Cohen, and Paul McCartney. It will be used as a closing ceremony for the 2026 Winter Olympics. Walking along downtown streets gives one an up-close experience of seeing some very interesting street entertainers. Verona is the setting for Shakespeare's tragedy Romeo and Juliette, two fictional characters based on a story in ancient Italian literature. The house, questionably said to belong to the Capulet family, was an overgrown ruin, restored in 1905 by the city as a tourist destination. The famous balcony was added in 1928 by a film studio who used the location for a silent rendition of the famous play. Although created from the imagination of Shakespeare, the love between Romeo and Juliet brings thousands of visitors daily, and touching the bronze statue ensures their love wishes will be fulfilled. Verona, like most Italian cities, has a wonderful outdoor market where most anything can be purchased. The square is adorned with statues and fountains which surround the market stalls. The Sunday market is a hodgepodge of gramophone players, fastest-era bike parts, and lots of alarm clocks. A real mix of antiques and junk, where you could spend all day just browsing. The nearly 600-year-old Lamberti clock tower watches over the city and its people, including this building, purchased by Madonna in 2011. This spectacular statue is dedicated to Verona's great poet Dante, who, although born in Florence and only lived here for 6 years, has been adopted by the city fathers. His most notable works include Inferno, Purgatory, and Paradise. One of the most prominent families in Verona was the Lamberti family, the builders of the clock tower. The 8th century ruling family in Verona forced all of the other families with towers to knock them down, so everyone had to look up to them. When the Lamberti family members started dying, exceptions were made to city laws allowing only them to be buried within the city walls. Their bodies are placed in elevated shrines so all residents are forced to look up to them, even after death. The Lamberti family's history is shrouded in secrecy. Nothing is known about them other than they were very wealthy and powerful and appear to control most of Verona during the 12th century. We say arrivederci to the beautiful waterways and picturesque bridges of Venice, as well as classical Verona, made famous by Shakespeare, with a beauty unto its own. From here, we will continue southwest to Florence, city of art and culture. There's never enough time to see it all, but I'm glad we have this opportunity to touch on the highlights. We'll continue our adventure right after these messages.
If finding enough time to manage your finances proactively is a challenge, you're not alone. Our team of financial experts is here to work in partnership with you to ensure that your goals are met. Don't feel like spending an hour in the grocery store? With PC Express, you don't have to. Simply download the app, choose your groceries, and the staff at Voss's Independent Grocer in Port Perry will have it ready for you to pick up. Come to Voss's, your independent grocer.
Welcome back. Our next stop is Florence, home of amazing art and splendorous culture created through the ages. Florence, with a population of nearly 400,000, lies in the heart of Tuscany. My first stop was the Palazzo Strozzi, regarded as the most beautiful Renaissance building in Florence. It was built in 1489 by the Strozzi family as a palace. It remained in their possession until 1937, when the state bought the house and turned it into a museum. The Strozzi family was a wealthy banking family in Florence, rivaled only by the Medici family, who, after entering politics, ruined the Strozzi clan and had them exiled from the city. One of the finest churches in Florence is the Basilica of the Holy Trinity. It was founded in the middle of the 11th century and also belonged to the Strozzi family. Originally located just outside the ancient city walls, the church was incorporated into the city center when the second walls were built in 1172. The finest room in the basilica is the Sassetti Chapel, with a painting dating back to 1585. I crossed the River Arno and viewed the many bridges, including the most famous, the Ponte Vecchio. It is a medieval stone-closed bridge and is noted for having stores along its sides, as was once common on all bridges. Butchers initially occupied the shops, but the present tenants are jewelers, art dealers, and souvenir sellers. The bridge was built in 996, and during World War II, it was the only bridge not destroyed by the Germans during their retreat in 1944. This was allegedly due to an express order from Adolf Hitler, who cited its historical importance. The bridge has been renovated and rebuilt numerous times over its 1,000-year history. Florence is an art lover's paradise. Its art galleries, especially the Uffizi Gallery, are home to many beautiful paintings by the great masters. Opened in 1765, the Uffizi Gallery was built as a home for the great art collection which belonged to the Medici family. One of my favorites is the Accademia Gallery, where Michelangelo's famed statue of David proudly stands. The artist was so detail-oriented that he made the head and upper body respectively larger. By doing so, the statue looks proportionate when viewed from a normal person's point of vision. Just outside the galleries is the Palazzo Vecchio, or Old Palace, which is the town hall of Florence. This massive Romanesque fortress is among the most impressive town halls of Tuscany. It overlooks the main square and the gallery of statues in the adjacent Loggia dei Lanzi, with its copy of Michelangelo's statue of David. This is a 1910 replica which was commissioned to replace the original statue when it was moved indoors to the Accademia Gallery in an effort to protect it. The square is one of the most significant public places in Italy. By far the most impressive cathedral is that of Santa Maria de Fiore, or St. Mary of the Flower, located in the center of the city. It is the main church of Florence and was completed in 1436 after 150 years of construction. The exterior of the basilica is faced with polychrome marble panels in various shades of green and pink bordered by white. The well-recognized octagonal dome is higher and wider than any that had ever been built. There are no external buttresses, and yet it did not fall under its own weight, which was phenomenal for the time. The architect Brunelleschi, who was hired by the Medici family, built a wooden form over which the concrete was then poured. The solution was ingenious and thought by many as unique. However, most of the large domes in ancient Rome were constructed in this very manner. During construction of the cathedral, a 50-year moratorium took place after sacred relics were discovered. The project resumed when the Guild of Wool Merchants took over patronage of the project. Decoration of the exterior began in the 14th century and was not completed until 1887. The interior of the church is extremely large and appears almost empty. It was created that way to coincide with the intent of religious life. Above the main door is the colossal clock face with fresco portraits of 4 prophets or evangelists. This one-handed liturgical clock shows the 24 hours of Italian time, which end with sunset. The church is particularly notable for its 44 stained glass windows, the largest undertaking of this kind in Italy in the 14th and 15th century. They are the work of the greatest Florentine artists of their time. Across the street of the basilica is the Baptistery of St. John, renowned for its 3 sets of artistically imported bronze doors with relief sculptures. The doors were dubbed by Michelangelo as the Gates of Paradise. On 3 of the 4 sides, the doors are famous for their decorations. The oldest pair are the bronze doors presently found on the south side of the baptistry. Made by Andrea Pisano around 1330, the doors consist of 28 quatrefoil panels depicting scenes from St. John's life and show amazing detail. Florence is of course known for its wonderful art and talented artists. The area around the cathedral is a popular hangout for artisans where many beautiful creations can be purchased or admired. Masterpieces such as Botticelli's The Birth of Venus, Michelangelo's wooden crucifix, and Da Vinci's famous self-portrait can all be found in Florence, as their creators called this city home. I climbed to the top of Michelangelo Plaza, high atop the hill of San Miniato. It was quite a hike, but the views are spectacular with St. Mary's Basilica stealing the show. The view captures the heart of Florence and will leave you breathless. Another church, the Basilica of Santa Croce, is the principal Franciscan church of Florence and was built on the outskirts of the city in 1294. Christianity was once the main religion of Florence and still accounts for 30% of the population. The 1,600 Jews of the city worship in the Great Synagogue of Florence seen here, constructed over 100 years ago. During World War II, Nazis used it as a storehouse. In retreating, German troops placed explosives to destroy the synagogue. Fortunately, Italian resistance fighters managed to defuse most of the explosives. And of course, there is no end to shopping in this wonderful Tuscan city, with its delicious sweets, its many jewelry stores, and of course fine leather goods, for which Italy is so famous. Florence was also home to the famous carpenter Carlo Collodi, who wrote the story of Pinocchio in 1883. I had a little extra time during my North Italian adventure and decided to head to nearby Siena, another beautiful Tuscan city well worth the visit. Agriculture constitutes the primary industry of this area. The shell-shaped Piazza del Campo, the town square which houses the public palace and the Tower of Food, is another architectural treasure and is famous for hosting the Palio di Siena, a traditional medieval horse race run around the town square twice each year. The event is attended by large crowds and is widely televised. The 17 neighborhoods of Siena vie for the trophy, which is a painted banner or palio bearing an image of the Blessed Virgin.
For each race, a new banner is commissioned by well-known artists, and previous winning banners can often be seen in the local museum. The Fountain of Joy, built in 1419, is the endpoint for the system of conduits which brings water to the city's center. Underground pipes brought water to the site from 25 kilometers away, which was quite an engineering feat. People were so happy with the construction, the fountain was named Fonte Gaia, or Fountain of Joy. The Chigi Saracini Palace is a historical palace which houses the Music Academy. It was built in the 12th century and is described as a Gothic beauty with a curved facade and rear courtyard. Siena was first settled in the 8th century BCE. According to local legend, Siena was founded by Senius and Accius, two sons of Remus and thus nephews of Romulus, after whom Rome was named. Supposedly, after their father's murder by Romulus, they fled Rome, taking with them the statue of the she-wolf suckling the infants, thus appropriating that symbol for the town of Siena. Because Siena is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it thrives on tourism. Many visitors and residents who stay in the surrounding Tuscan hills frequent Siena for sightseeing, shopping, and visiting restaurants, or just to enjoy a rest on one of the many outdoor terraces. The Cathedral of Santa Maria is the largest church in Siena and has the form of a Latin cross with a dome and bell tower, which has 6 bells, the oldest of which was cast in 1149. The present cathedral is 800 years old, however it was built on the site of a 9th century church. The facade of the Siena Cathedral is one of the most fascinating in all of Italy, and certainly one of the most impressive features in Siena. 3 large mosaics on the gables of the facade were made in Venice in 1878. In the interior, the pictorial effect of the black and white marble stripes on the walls and columns strikes the eye. Black and white was chosen as they are the colors of the civic coat of arms of Siena. Here we see the orphanage of St. Catherine, believed to have experienced visions of Christ from the time she was 6 years old. It's hard to imagine she was born into a family of 25 children.
What a wonderful part of the world northern Italy is, with its fine food and being the global center for art. Seeing Michelangelo's David or original works by Da Vinci is very emotional. We'll explore more of Italy in the upcoming episodes. For Photos and Travel, I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen. It's been my pleasure to be your tour guide today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. If you like this program, please click the subscribe button and you'll never miss an episode.
Want to know what's happening in Skugog? News and lifestyle, changes in business, and all the entertainment information you'll ever need. Plus, each edition has a new Photos and Travel article. Look for your next copy in your mailbox.